CIA held its own 50th anniversary ceremony last Wednesday. Former President George Bush spoke to retired CIA agents at the agency's headquarters in Langley, Virginia. President Bush was Central Intelligence Director from 1976 until 1977. The program's about 40 minutes.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Director of Central Intelligence, the Honorable George J. Tenet, accompanied by Mrs. Tenet and the former President of the United States, George Herbert Walker Bush. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, very distinguished guests, and honored retirees. I want to extend a very warm welcome to all of you who are joining us to celebrate our very special 50th anniversary. My name is Chase Brandon. I will be the Master of Ceremonies today and for all of the activities we have planned during this very special week. Today, we are extremely proud, very privileged to have with us our former directors of Central Intelligence and family members of former DCIs. We are going to recognize them this morning for their contributions to this agency. May I now introduce, and indeed it is my great privilege and pleasure to introduce our Director of Central Intelligence, the Honorable George J. Tenet.
Good morning. Welcome home. Welcome to this celebration of CIA's 50th anniversary. This event is part family reunion, part victory party, and part kickoff for the next 50 years. The first order of business is to say thank you. It is an honor to be with you this morning because you are the men and women who built this agency. Everything that we do each and every day rests on your legacy. I am aware each and every day that we have inherited an institution animated by rare spirit. This spirit has many qualities: patriotism and courage anxious to be put to the test, an eagerness to attempt the undoable, and the persistence to carry through, a willingness to forego public accolades that is exceptional in this media age, and yes, a streak of eccentric genius. You are the men and women who perfected our clandestine tradecraft under the hard conditions of the Cold War. You applied your ingenuity patiently and persistently to the barriers erected by the Soviet state, both in the Soviet Union and other parts of the world. The work could be, in turn, tedious, frustrating, dangerous, and absorbing. Against tremendous odds, you found people willing to give us the secrets of Soviet military doctrine and strategy, the inner workings of the KGB and the GRU, and other information that proved invaluable to your leaders. You shouldered the heavy responsibility that goes with running an asset in a denied area. You shared the pressure of being under constant watch, under daily threat of discovery. You mourned quietly when you lost an asset or when you lost a colleague. You celebrated quietly when you scored a victory. You are the men and women who saw the enormous potential of technology, who marshaled the talent to build the great collection platforms and cameras that revolutionized intelligence gathering. The U-2 gave us our first good look at Soviet military capabilities, blew a hole in our preconceived notions of Moscow's military might, and discovered Soviet ballistic missiles in Cuba. 110 days after a Soviet anti-aircraft missile shot down Francis Gary Powers and ended overflights of Soviet territory, you launched the first reconnaissance satellite, the Corona. Overnight, our ability to gather critical data increased exponentially. You are the men and women who hone the art of all-source analysis, the ability to put together disparate pieces of information to create a coherent picture. You poured over embassy cables, clandestine reporting, signals intelligence, overhead imagery, and open sources from major newspapers to obscure journals and remote radio broadcasts. You had to combine the knowledge and expertise of an academic with the foresight of a seer while operating under the deadlines of a journalist. From necessity, you learned to make calls on the spot with only fragmentary data. Over the long years of effort, you built an astoundingly comprehensive picture of our Soviet adversary and other intelligence targets. You are the men and women who did thousands of other jobs, large and small, to make possible the collection and analysis of intelligence. Under the most difficult conditions, you set up secure communications, solved complex problems of logistics, you kept offices running smoothly, you provided medical support. You traveled all over the world, moved your families, made sacrifices, coped with the inconvenience of cover, worked weekends and holidays. You took the words government service as a serious commitment to a worthy cause. You are the men and women who built the Central Intelligence Agency. The CIA draws enormous strength from its accumulated intellectual capital, its collected wisdom, its shared experience. On behalf of all of the directors of Central Intelligence who have served with you, 9 of whom are represented today, I express our deep gratitude to all of you on behalf of a grateful nation and a grateful CIA family that is vibrant, persevering and caring because of the example you set for so many years. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts, and we applaud you this morning for everything that you've done. Today, we must not lose sight of the fact that intelligence is still a matter of life and death. Our job remains to warn and protect and to serve as our nation's first line of defense. We face a complex new world order and a range of rigorous new intelligence challenges. We must focus our resources relentlessly on those that pose serious danger to the physical security of the United States, our armed forces, and our citizens. To succeed for the next 50 years, we must set our goals very high. First, we must remain the best espionage service in the world. We have to take the lessons learned from the hard school of the Cold War and apply them to the hard targets of today. This means taking risks and risking failure. Next to objectivity, this ethic is the most important part of our professional identity. If we fail to take risks, we will be left without intelligence. The only way I know to encourage the creativity and risk-taking that are the lifeblood of espionage is to give our people the unwavering support that they deserve. Second, we must take the spirit of innovation that gave us the U-2 and the Corona and use it to foment the next revolution in technical collection. We must stay ahead of the technological curve to track weapons of mass destruction, to discover movements of armies, and to overcome increasingly sophisticated tactics of denial and deception. To stay ahead, we must invest in technical excellence and become a magnet for the Bud Whelons of the next generation. Third, we have to be the world's leading experts. In this age, when we are flooded by information, much of it false or worthless, the special talent of the intelligence analyst is more important than ever. We must be able to sift out the accurate information, to organize the confusion of data, and project ahead when the stakes are high for the United States. We must work to discern the future shape of the great nuclear powers, Russia and China. We must be ready to bring policymakers up to speed quickly when a new crisis breaks in some remote part of the globe. We must pull together the information that our troops need so that they can accomplish their mission safely and effectively. To do this, we will have to unite the discipline, clear logic, and objectivity of Sherman Kent with the latest tools of the information age. To accomplish all of this, we will need to support each other, draw closer together, and revive the sense of family that has been such a source of strength for this great agency. To tackle new problems, we will have to fall back on the old qualities that served us so well: patriotism, courage, persistence, and willingness to take on the undoable task. I thank you and your families for leaving that legacy to our agency. I know that we can pass it on to the next generation of intelligence officers. Because of the tradition and accomplishments you have provided us, I also know that our future is very bright. On a personal note, let me say it is a great honor for me to lead this agency. Your presence here today gives me great energy and optimism for the future. I will do all that I can, summon all the strength that I have and all the strength that God will give me to build on the great legacy that you have provided this agency and our country. Thank you all very, very much, and have a great day.
Ladies and gentlemen, our first presentation is to the Honorable Richard Helms, 30 June 1966 to February 1973. The Honorable James R. Schlesinger, 2 February 1973 to July 1973. The Honorable William E. Colby, 4 September 1973, 30 January 1976. Accepting the medallion is Mrs. Sally Shelton Colby. The Honorable George Herbert Walker Bush, 30 January 1976, 20 February 1977. Admiral Stansfield Turner, United States Navy, 9 March 1977, 20 January 1981. The Honorable William H. Webster, 26 May 1987, 31 August 1991. The Honorable Robert M. Gates, 6 November 1991, 20 January 1993. The Honorable R. James Woolsey, 5 February 1993, 10 January 1995. The Honorable John M. Deutsch, 10 May 1995, 13 December 1996. We would also like to recognize the following former directors of Central Intelligence. Rear Admiral Sidney W. Sowers, United States Navy, 23 January 1946, 10 June 1946. Lieutenant General Hoyt S. Vandenberg, United States Army, 10 June 1946, 1 May 1947. Rear Admiral Roscoe H. Hillencotter, United States Navy, 1 May 1947, 7 October 1950. General Walter Bedell Smith, United States Army, 7 October 1950, 9 February 1953. The Honorable Allen W. Dulles, 26 February 1953, 29 November 1961. The Honorable John A. McCone, 29 November 1961, 28 April 1965. Vice Admiral William F. Rayburn, Jr., United States Navy, 28 April 1965, 30 June 1966. The Honorable William J. Casey, 28 January 1981, 29 January 1987. Mr. Director.
Please be seated. Okay, on to the main event. It is now my great pleasure and honor to introduce someone who shares with George Washington the unique distinction of having been both the head of an intelligence service and the President of the United States. George Washington ran his own informal espionage network during the American Revolution. 200 years later, in January of 1976, George Bush became the Director of Central Intelligence. It was the height of the Church Committee hearings. The new DCI had the task of restoring public confidence in the agency and restoring the agency's confidence in itself. It must have been one of the hardest jobs in Washington during those times. But George Bush considered it the best job in Washington. With a combination of personal involvement and professional integrity, he quickly earned the respect, admiration, and affection of the CIA family. Later, George Bush brought to the presidency a knowledge and understanding of intelligence that no chief executive since Washington could claim. Once again, the people of the Central Intelligence Agency felt privileged to work for him. Today, we are honored to have President Bush back at Langley for our 50th anniversary celebration. It is my honor and great privilege to introduce a great American and a great friend of the Central Intelligence Agency, President George Bush.
Thank you all. Thank you all very much. Director, thank you. George, thank you, sir. Trouble is, most of these people know that was an overly generous introduction, but nevertheless, thank you. It's a pleasure to be back here on this 50th anniversary, back in Langley, back with all of you who serve our country. And I want to salute, of course, George Tenet, the DCI, who knows so much about intelligence and now is the right man at the right time to head this agency we love. And of course, I want to salute all of the former DCIs, many of whom I work with very closely. Bob Gates, of course, comes to mind, and Bill Webster and Jim Woolsey and Schlesinger. I'm getting in trouble if I click them off. But in their capacities as director, I salute them. And in their capacity as having helped this former president, I salute them and thank them for all of that. I had a lot of different jobs over the years. Frankly, I wish Barbara would stop saying, "Poor George, he can't hold a job." But I'm out of government, and like a lot of you guys, out of work, and happily out of the press. We got a call when I got back to Texas from being president, and one of the stars of 60 Minutes called and said to my chief of staff, "We would like George Bush to be on this program." Our chief of staff said, "No way." She said, "What do you mean, no way? Don't you realize that doesn't he realize we have the largest audience of any kind in the world now for a magazine show?" And Rose said to her, "Yeah, and don't you realize he doesn't give a damn about that anymore?" And so I have come to you with this spirit of liberation, but also a spirit of a heart full of gratitude. I can't think of any possible assignment, maybe the possible exception, of being President of the United States of America that was more, in a selfish sense, more rewarding, more satisfying than being DCI. And I'll bet you every single one of these guys here say exactly the same thing. I came here when the agency had been and still was under fire. I was fortunate to follow a great career man, Bill Colby, whom you gave a wonderful welcome to just a minute ago. His welcome to this outsider was warm and genuine, and I'd be remiss if I didn't single out another from whom I learned a lot about intelligence, and that so much that much of it started when I first came to Congress in January of 1967, when he had us out here to brief us, and I'm talking about your friend and mine, Dick Helms. What a job he did for the community. And so I came here when the agency was under fire, and I saw something remarkably different than what I thought I'd find, given the exposés, the nasty press coverage, and the out-of-control hearings back on Capitol Hill in 1975. What I found was a great university of talent. I saw specialists in the sciences, more PhDs than in many universities. I saw talented women and men willing to start careers in intelligence in spite of the onslaught of horrible publicity. I saw dedicated public servants who never got recognition, never got to sit at the head table, who never got credit for tremendously significant accomplishments that were vitally important to the security and future of the United States of America. Patriots who simply wanted to serve this greatest country on the face of the earth. I was a political appointee. I was supported from day one, the minute I walked into this place, just as I've been working here all my life. The entire agency, and I think Dick Helms knows what I'm saying, and maybe some of the others, was demeaned by the universally negative press coverage stemming from mistakes made by but a handful of people. The people of CIA were roundly insulted by untutored, aggressive staffers from 2 committees of Congress, many, not all, but many of whom came out here with no respect for classified information, no understanding that good intelligence, particularly human intelligence, depends on the protection of sources and methods. And these crusading young zealots treated everyone that they encountered as renegades at best, criminals at worst, and I'm afraid that some members of the United States Congress conveyed exactly that same message. And many educational institutions across the country, still caught up in some post-Vietnam trauma, never came to our defense when our recruiters were insulted and demeaned, and in some cases bodily thrown off of the campus. They just hung up a no trespassing sign for CIA. Most so-called broad-minded academicians would not cooperate with anything having to do with intelligence, and many pusillanimous business people treated CIA exactly the same way. After I left CIA, I'll give you an example of it, selfish one perhaps. I left CIA in 1967. Remember Pearl Harbor Day, September? After I left CIA, in 97, I was approached by the head of, okay, make that whatever the hell it was, 77. Hey, I'm 73, stop laughing. Anyway, I left CIA, and I was unemployed, and it was 1977. And I was approached by the head of one of the largest, chairman of one of the largest corporations in America. We'd like you to be on our board of directors, sir. Well, it interested me. And then there was a long, deathly silence. Nothing. Didn't hear from him. Then in comes the message, well, our CEO and our board feels that since you worked at CIA, maybe it wouldn't be as good for you to come join our prestigious company. The company went bankrupt a few years later, and I became President of the United States of America. So, but in spite of all this trauma, this place flourished, and thank God it did, because our country needed then, as it does now, the best possible intelligence, needed it more than ever. And because of the dedicated men and women that work here, presidents received just exactly that. The best intelligence in the entire world. Science and technology was a big part of that, and I salute everyone who worked in S&T. Intelligence Division kept producing the best, and I salute all of you. And the operations, the embattled Directorate of Operations, largely recovered from the ghastly period of disclosure that cost us much of our liaison, cost us many of our sources around the world, cost us the life of Richard Welch. Remember Philip Agee, who I consider a traitor to our country? The guy encouraged the publishing of names of those serving undercover, sacrificing their lives. And Counter Spy magazine did publish names, including the name of Richard Welch, our station chief in Greece, who was shortly thereafter gunned down in Greece outside of his residence. When I became president, I knew what CIA could do. I relied heavily on your product. Never a day went past that I didn't read some study prepared right here, never getting to thank the analysts that did that thankless work. And on a daily basis, I never missed reading the PDB, the President's Daily Brief, prepared overnight by the no-dose crowd here, and briefed every morning by the one of them that could stay awake the best. But I was privileged to be president at a time of mind-boggling historic change. The Soviet Union imploded. The Berlin Wall came down, and Germany was unified. And contrary to most predictions, a unified Germany remained in NATO. And the Baltics and Eastern Europe were freed. And China had Tiananmen Square. And we got NAFTA underway. And I salute President Clinton for bringing that to a successful conclusion. And then, of course, there was Desert Storm, followed by the Madrid Conference where the Middle East peace process began. So much change in such a short period of time, 4 years. And through all of this and more, I depended a lot on CIA, on the whole community. And so did our whole first-rate team, one of whom is going to be now John Gordon, the deputy to Mr. Tenet, and a fine selection he is. So many in this agency helped, not just here in CIA, but the NSC and elsewhere when I was president, and I'll always be grateful to you. Nobody ever writes about all the banks that weren't robbed today. That's not news, and I understand that. But if there's an intelligence failure, Congress and, of course, some of the Beltway press make every such incident into a crisis. And they will take something bad, the uncovering of a traitorous mole, and use that to tear down the entirety that is the CIA. And all during the momentous events I cited above, we relied heavily on CIA intelligence. And of course, we all know that one cannot accurately predict intentions of some madman like Saddam Hussein, but I would hate to have handled any of the challenges that we confronted without the work of this agency. The Cold War ended, and yes, we remained as the only superpower. The Soviet Union was no longer an enemy, and so what did we begin to hear? CIA is no longer necessary. They can't even clean up their own act. The critics using the Ames affair to discredit the entire agency, indeed the entire community. And I am here not only to salute those who have served and those who still serve, but to say intelligence is just as vital today as it was during the darkest days of the Cold War, as it was on those troubled days when Iraq's brutal legions crossed over into Kuwait, as it was when the Berlin Wall came down, and we needed to know then how the Soviet military would likely react. The enemies, well, they may be different, but they're still out there. Fundamentalism, terrorism, nuclear proliferation, international narcotics, you name it. The enemy is no longer Russia. It is unpredictability. It is instability in this world. And we better understand that as a nation. And so to those who say we no longer need CIA, I say you're nuts. And those who want to dismantle CIA or put it under some other department, State Department or anybody else, you're nuts too. And to those who feel the right to know takes precedence over legitimate classification of documents or over protecting our most precious asset, our people, same to you. You're nuts, and so's the horse you came in on. And I would tell you what I really thought about all this, but as Dana Carvey would say, naga, not gonna do it, wouldn't be prudent, not gonna do it. So, congratulations. Congratulations on this magnificent anniversary, and may God bless every man and woman at CIA. Thank you. Just a minute. I've forgotten my major assignment. Please be seated. This will take 45 minutes. What I want to do is present one of these medallions to our current director, and on behalf of all the other DCIs, wish him Godspeed. God bless you, George. You're doing it at the right time, and you are the right man. Congratulations.